Hey, Chet, Chris Therien told us he would be back to talk to us about something special in his life that was coming up. And being a man of his word, he's back with us tonight to talk about it and talk some miserable Flyers hockey. Hey, Bundy, welcome back.
Great to be here, guys. Yeah, it's been you know what? It's really funny because it's been such an odd year in sports in general, but then for the Flyers to have started off well, and you came into a year where I think that they thought that, things had really turned the corner in the playoffs last year. The one thing I couldn't get away from, even in the offseason, guys, in the beginning of this year, I could not get the taste of that Game 7 out of my mouth the entire year. And usually when you see a performance like that, I mean, they didn't show up for a Game 7, which is almost impossible. It almost doesn't happen. They did not show up in that game. And it looks right now like they look like the same team after the start of the year. And I'm just not really sure what they can do at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, it was an ugly last few weeks for the team for sure. Though not officially eliminated, they're pretty much cooked. And you made some comments recently on Facebook. What has happened to this team that we thought going into this year was going to be a legitimate contender? Why has it gone so wrong?
There's a lot of things. I mean, it's almost like you could compile lack of critical scoring with bad goaltending and poor defensive coverage. It's been just absolutely atrocious. That was the area, when Chuck Fletcher came in here, that they said immediately they need to rectify, they need to repair is the goals against average. And they did that last year. They made strides. But, I'm not going to sit around and have them tell me that the COVID affected what they were doing this year. I'm just not buying it. I can't buy that because other teams have had it too, and they've gotten through the other side. So I think the biggest problem, guys, has been that there was an expectation coming in this year from the fans, and they've not lived up to it. In fact, it's gone in reverse, total reverse from what our expectations were. So now what you have, and I think you're staring it down pretty clearly, you've got a team that needs a rebuild. And almost like an Ottawa or Detroit, and I know the fans are going to hate hearing that, but you do. And even going back to Ron Hextall's era, and I used to talk to Hexy about this. I said, what about the fact that you've got an older, aging core that's combined with a really young group that he really loved? I mean, he really talked up the young guys of this team as the immediate future and how important they were going to be for this team. That hasn't happened. It has a little bit. But I really think that they need to really break this thing down, get young, find the prospects, get a top 3 pick somehow again, if that's how bad you're going to be. The Rangers did it, and they ended up getting, Kakko and Lafreniere, first and second pick overall. That'll change a team's fortunes for 12 years, but that's what's called a rebuild. You can't just keep putting bandages on something that's broken and hope that it gets fixed, because I just don't. This is beyond fixing now. You've clearly got an aging group of older guys that are just not setting the bar as high as it needs to be for this team to be successful. And you've got a group of younger players that I think are pretty good, albeit they're the same or not as good as a lot of other younger guys on other teams. So that's a harsh reality and the truth. This is a really smart market for sports, especially for the intangibles. That's what Philly gets more than like a lot of other cities. So the compete level is atrocious. I mean, it's brutal. There's nobody even competing. There's guys missing. I see it with a clear eye. It may be harder for some. Guys are literally not finishing checks. They're stick checking everywhere. You can't win a hockey game, let alone a playoff game, if you're competing like that. So it's been disappointing. I can live with losses. I can. I mean, most people can't. Philly can too. But they can't live with a lack of effort or a lack of competitiveness. And that's what we've seen on a nightly basis now for almost 2 months.
Well, Chris, we want to give you plenty of time to talk about this new endeavor that you're involved with. You're devoting much of your time to it now. You're a partner there, part owner, I guess. Limitless Recovery. It is that treatment center in Fishtown. And boy, Sam Carchidi, our pal, did a great piece on you a month or two back. You're talking about your whole story with Sam. If you don't mind, Chris, could you tell us, about your own struggles? what caused you to have your own personal problems with alcohol, and how did it get out of hand? How did you know when it had gotten out of hand?
Yeah, well, that was actually the best part when I talk about it is that I recognized it was a problem fairly quick. It was, I got through almost my whole career is pretty much just I'm not much different than other guys. Get a win. If we had a night out on the road, I'd take advantage and go partake in a few beers with the guys. But alcoholism is a progressive disease. It gets worse as you get older. It was my last year. It was 2004 actually, which I talk about very honestly. That I got to a rink one morning and we weren't playing. There was a lockout that year. It was a 2004-05 season where we lost an entire year. That was really, that was the pin. It all started to go real downhill from there, guys. And I've heard many stories of other players too. But for me, I can't worry about what happened with them. I can only worry about what happened myself. But I noticed that it was getting really bad that year. I was drinking just to get kind of regular, and that to me is clearly when it becomes a problem. I had young kids. I ended up coming back to the Flyers. I got signed in the off season in 05. I came back for the 05-06 season. I probably played 30, 35 pretty decent games. And then I had a concussion in January. And I was somehow getting through the season, and I was, pretty much a full-blown alcoholic by that point and trying to play. But I had a concussion. And then what happened was the Olympic break took place 2 weeks after. And I was essentially I went from not knowing what the concussion was to not knowing whether I was, in withdrawal or whether I was actively out there. So it was tough. I ended up at that point, and I told this, story was very, very clear. At the 2006 for me was as bad a year as it gets, and it kind of came to a close with the death of my sister, sudden cardiac death, and it was an awful time. It was the worst time. I was sick. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had a young family. We had a baby on the way, which was amazing in its own right that I was having a fourth child. And so I went away to rehab and to Karen in Wernersville, Pennsylvania, and I got the help I needed and came back and got almost 2 years. And I decided I was broadcasting radio, and I decided I'd go out and try it out in the summer again to see if it was, if I was normal, if I could ever be a normal drinker again. And I found out pretty quick that I couldn't. But I never got back to the high levels that you've read in the article, which was absolutely insane. When I realized how much that drinking you have to do to get to that. So, again, and I did bounce in and out a little bit, guys, for some time. But like I said, I was very vigilant. People were well aware of my situation, that I'd had an issue by that point. Now we're getting into 2008, 9, 10. And it was just a day in 2011, early 2011, where I'd had one of my last couple parties, and that was it. I stopped. I realized, I had I had too many obligations. I had too many responsibilities to people in this world, and I was being too selfish. I was being selfish. I was and unfortunately, that's what happens with alcohol. It commands you. It calls out to you. It dictates to you, and until you get that part of it under control, there's never getting alcohol under control. I understand that now, but from February 7th, 2011 until 2021, I've gone 10 plus years now straight. And, I always tell people I'm 49. I'm not afraid to give away my age, but I've never drank in my 40s. So someday maybe if I live long enough, I can look back and again, through the grace of God and one day at a time, that I'm able to, continue this journey of sobriety and being a solid, good person on a daily basis, trying to help others. And that's where Limitless came in, guys. I wanted to be someone to give back. I know the pain that I was in through it. I feel, as I said, truly, truly blessed. I get a look at the inside here of Limitless, and we're moving locations. We're getting a bigger space. This is what they bought when the two young guys had set it up, and really for me, I couldn't be more proud of it. We deal with the everyday man, everyday woman that gives us a call. I'm very, very sensitive towards anybody's problem, whether it's drug addiction, alcoholism, mental health. A lot of them are dual diagnosis with them. They kind of run hand in hand. So, but there's a lot of people out there all over the place that need help and they need support. And if I'm one voice or one arm to be able to reach out to somebody, well, that's that fulfills me as a person. I'm no longer doing the hockey, but I tell you what, since January 2nd, when we walked in that door at Limitless, and I was a proud owner at that time. It's been probably the most 3.5 of the most rewarding months of my life to this point, and I know it's only going to go. This is my last stop. Again, I feel very blessed that I had my experiences here in Philadelphia as a player, tons of games, lots of games, 14 years as a broadcaster, in many different facets. But to have a place in the city, to still cross over the bridge, to still take a look at the city when I get over there, and be able to know that I'm giving back, it's very meaningful to me and very important.
Yep.
So, Chris, if a person is listening or watching and they have a problem, what do they need to do? They pick up the phone and call you guys? Do you have counselors there? How does it work for somebody that might need to make that call?
That's a great question, Bill. And you know what? I think the best thing really is that there's multiple ways to get a hold of us. You can go to our Limitless Recovery Centers. It's got an S on the end of it.com, limitlessrecoverycenters.com. We have the chat box. There's a phone number. The chat box goes to every one of them. I've done tests with my partner to make sure that there's no glitches. So we've done text. So you just take your text, tell them what your issue is. We'll get back to you in just moments from that chat option. And if you want to just reach out to me, whether it's Messenger on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, any way possible that you can get a hold of us, we've reached out. I mean, there's been so many people in the community that I've never spoke to before that have called. I've called them right back within minutes, and that's really that's what I do, and there's been some amazing stories, people trying to get sober, and it's very humbling too. It brings me back into a place where I remember well, and it's been a tough year too, guys, obviously with the pandemic. Alcohol has gone up, skyrocketed the sales in 2020 through 2021, up over 200%. So it's kind of made its comeback, and drugs are still, they're everywhere. They're all over the place, and this is a real epidemic of drugs, and alcohol has been a major problem. So the more voices there are, the more good people there are in the community trying to support anyone that has a problem, the better off we all are.
Yeah, it's a great thing that you're doing. You're to be commended for all of that, Chris. I wish you the best with everything at Limitless. You'll be helping a lot of people over the next several years. I know that. One other thing before we let you go, I know you have another commitment this evening. This past Sunday marked the 5th anniversary of Flyers founder and longtime owner Ed Snider's passing. How well did you get to know Mr. Snider during your time with the organization, and any favorite memories of him?
We call him Mr. Snider. I'll say Ed Snider now because he's not going to hear me. He was, as I said, I called him the GOAT on Facebook, but it's GOOAT, the greatest owner of all time. He is the greatest owner of all time. And you know what? He cared about the players. He cared about the people that worked here. But you know what he cared about the most? The fans. The fans of this city were more important to him than anything. And he let us know that. They were number one on his list. It wasn't the broadcasters. It wasn't the players. It was the fans. And that's something that I forever cherish. And quite frankly, it's why I get a little ticked off watching what's going on the ice right now, because I know that if Mr. Snider were here, there'd be hell to pay for the product that's on the ice right now. He was a great man, and I tell you what, I miss him dearly. A lot of us do. I got to know him very well. Of course, when you're doing, you got radio and TV gigs over the years, I probably had to be rubber stamped by Mr. Snider to continue to get through it. So I always think I had a pretty good relationship with him and served the Flyers pretty well in my time.
All right. Hey, Chris, we got to let you go. Before you do, one last time, where can the people find you? Phone number, website, throw it out there.
Yeah, just go to limitlessrecoverycenters.com. Or you can reach me, my partner Dom Chavone, who's in the article as well, or you can just Google my name, Chris Therien, and you will see a lot of the Limitless pop up below it, rehab, community recovery and stuff. So don't be afraid to message me on Facebook. That's where a lot of people have reached out and said, hey, I got a brother, I got a sister, I got a friend. Mm-hmm. Well, don't be shy. I'm probably as regular and ordinary a guy as there is as you meet on the street. And I take pride in that. I talk to anybody. And that's pretty much who I've always been. I've been a loudmouth, but I've also I say that with pride in a lot of ways. Also, again, I love talking, and the more that somebody's able to have enough courage to come to me with a story like that, and if there's a difference I can make, then that's certainly what I'll try to do.